Today we're going to begin our look at U.S. History Chapter 1, the beginnings of America, and we're going to start in Section 1 looking at the world before 1600. We will, of course, look at the Americas, but we will also look at other parts of the world that ended up having an influence on the Americas as well. And so as we start in Section 1 looking at the early Americas, as recently as 10,000 years ago, thick ice sheets covered much of the earth and the sea levels were a lot lower. And during this time, there was a land bridge across what is now known as the Bering Strait. And that's what separates Alaska from Siberia. So, at that point in time, this land bridge was called Beringia. And most scholars believe that the first inhabitants of the Americas were either nomadic herders or nomadic hunters that were following the herds across this land bridge from Asia into the Americas, and that from there some migrated all the way down to the tip of South America. Now, there are some other theories out there, and there's some evidence that some people may have arrived by boat from different islands or even other Asian countries, but most scholars do believe that the first inhabitants most likely came across that land bridge at Beringia. And of course, after arriving, they developed many different cultures here in North America. And so we're now going to begin our look at the empires of Mesoamerica. Empires rose in Mesoamerica in an area that is present-day Mexico and Central America. The Maya began their rise around 400 BC. They built pyramids and developed systems for writing and numbering. In the late 1400s, the Aztecs formed a large empire in what is modern-day Mexico. The environments of North America are very diverse. The Native American groups adapted to the environment in which they lived. For example, the Hohokam people farmed in the desert using irrigation systems. The Anasazi built distinctive dwellings made of adobe. The Adena and Hopewell were known as mound builders because they buried their dead in large earth mounds. Native American groups varied by region. For example, in the Southwest, you had the Pueblo people that lived in many-roomed adobe dwellings. Along the northwest coast, those groups had an abundant supply of natural resources. California hunter-gatherer groups made use of the diverse plants and animals. Far north groups here lived in the tundra and hunted seal, seabirds, caribou, and beaver and bear. In the Great Basin and Plateau, those groups were hunter-gatherers. And on the Great Plains, the early plains groups hunted buffalo. Eastern woodlands groups made use of their forest and animals and fish in the region. And the southeast groups settled in farming villages. As far as shared customs and traditions, Native American villages and nations were organized into clans on the basis of kinship. Most Native American groups had a spiritual connection to the natural world. Trade was common between many Native American groups, and barter was the most common method of exchange. Now looking at African cultures before 1500. By 300 AD, several important trading kingdoms had developed in West Africa. Ghana and Mali, the earliest kingdoms, made their fortune from taxing traders. Songhai was larger than Ghana and Mali. Benin and Congo became powerful in the 1400s from trading with European countries. The slave trade started in the 1400s and lasted for over 400 years. It is estimated that as many as 20 million enslaved Africans arrived in the Americas, and of course that's both North and South, from the slave trade. European exploration. In the late Middle Ages, the Renaissance began in Europe. The Renaissance encouraged people to question previously held beliefs and contributed to the Reformation, when Martin Luther and his followers split from the Roman Catholic Church. In response to the changes of this era, the nation-states of Europe began to look for new lands and to gain new resources and find new trade partners. Many countries began to encourage exploration to find these new lands. And this brings us now to Columbus. Christopher Columbus won the support of the Spanish monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, who sponsored his efforts to find a new trade route to India. In August of 1492, he set sail with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. After 3 weeks at sea, they hit land in the Bahamas. Columbus's voyage paved the way for further European exploration and exploitation, and it also started the Columbian Exchange.